Hello, hello. Welcome back to Peak Northwest, an outdoors and travel podcast by the Oregonian and OregonLive, dedicated to the adventure and exploration of our beautiful Pacific Northwest. I'm Jamie Hale.
And I'm Chiara Profeta. Together we take you to some of the most beautiful and interesting destinations in our region, discussing where to go, what to do, and places to see. And today we are going on a breathtaking bike ride across the beautiful northwest corner of Oregon.
That's right. You know, there's obviously so many incredible bike rides in the Pacific Northwest, including several that we've talked about here on the podcast. But this one is truly remarkable for a few different reasons. So this is a bike ride called Reach to the Beach. And it's not only a scenic ride, it's also a fundraiser for a good cause, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for lung health education and research. And here to tell us all about that ride is former Peak Northwest co-host Vickie Connor. Vickie, thanks for joining us.
I'm back. It's good to be here.
How does it feel to be in the guest chair?
It's nice. It's nice. I had a special link to join, you know. It's feels comfy and cozy. It's good to be back.
So I know that we've talked to you a little bit about Reach to the Beach, but this sounds like such an incredible experience that you had. So could you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with this?
Yeah. So, if anyone has been listening for a while, you know that all of last year, basically, I was in crazy triathlon mode. And that has continued on into this year. And, you know, the longest bike ride I've ever done was for my last half Ironman, and that was 56 miles. And I thought, maybe I could double that and do a full century ride. And that's something that has been on my bucket list for a while. And I'm a part of this group called Trail Mixed here in Portland, which is a group for women of color exploring the outdoors, whether that's hiking, biking, you know, swimming, running, what have you. And one of my friends from Trail Mixed suggested this ride. She's really into biking, whether that's mountain biking, gravel riding, or road biking. And this had been on her bucket list for a while. This Reach the Beach ride has existed here in Oregon, I believe, for 35 years. And it offers a 106-mile route that starts at Sauvie Island and ends at Fort Stevens State Park. And that's the longest version of the ride. In addition to that, though, there are some shorter options. If you're not fully wanting to commit to 106 miles, there are much shorter variations, I think down to like 23 miles. So yeah, we got a group together through Trail Mixed. One of my friends was the organizer, our team captain, and her, along with 4 other ladies, and plus me. And we did a bunch of training rides leading up to this ride in late May, and it was a great bonding experience with these other women. And yeah, it was a crazy experience, and I think maybe I would do it again. Not sure. We'll need some time.
Well, what can you tell us about the fundraising aspect of this? It's the American Lung Association, is that right?
Yes, the American Lung Association is behind this ride. So you join a team to participate in this ride, and your team is responsible for fundraising. So I think with our team, came out to be, you know, at least $200 per person need to be fundraised. I know a lot of people on our team had their companies would kind of like match donations along with donations from amazing family and friends. And yeah, the whole goal is to raise money for the American Lung Association, which goes towards research.
A total, I believe, according to their website, of $419,533 from Reach to the Beach. Your team raised a little over $2,000. So that's more than $200 a person. That seems like a pretty good haul.
Yeah, exactly. I know There are people who do this every single year. And so, I'm sure they make it a goal every year to, beat their fundraising from last year and, keep raising that amount, which is really awesome. Goes to a good cause.
That is a really great cause, and it's one of kind of the best ways to get out. And I feel like donate is being able to be active too and have like a team behind you as well. And I'm just curious, so you said this was like the longest bike ride that you've done, or have you ever biked this much, or what's like the most you biked at once?
Yeah, the most I've ever biked was 56 miles. So this was a little less than doubling that. And, yeah, I think I've trained on my bike for long periods of time. And, a lot of that has just been solo training. But for this, it was so different being able to train with a group of friends and just gab and talk the whole time. It makes those long hours in the saddle go by a whole lot quicker, and other people to also kind of commiserate with a little bit.
Yeah, that's a long time. Yeah, so not even like in between there running or biking like a 75 miles or anything like that. I think just going like straight in, that's a wild accomplishment to do.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it was nice to just, have those friendly faces there on race day. It's not even a race. I should clarify that, which was also a reason why I wanted to participate in this event, is that there wasn't really this vibe or energy of like, okay, we need to go as fast as we can to get to the finish line over the course of 106 miles. This is something that felt very approachable, quote unquote, approachable as a first century ride, in that along the way from Sauvie Island to Fort Stevens State Park, there were about 6 different pit stops along the way. So it was a fully supported ride, which is also great. So there's food, all the carbs you can imagine, like bagels galore. And, like that's going to that boosts my morale along this ride. There's cookies, water, electrolytes. And then on top of that, a fully supported ride means that there's bike support. So if you have any mechanical issues, if you get a flat tire, there are race officials who are there kind of cruising slowly to make sure if anyone's pulled off to the side of the road, they can get the help that they need. Any medical help at the aid stations, that is also provided, which is so, so nice. You're not just stranded, in the middle of Clatsop State Forest.
Well, Vickie, tell us a little bit more about this ride. What is the route? What was your experience of it? Tell us about the scenery. Paint us a picture.
Yeah. So we started at 6 a.m. and we started at Sauvie Island. And although we were really hoping for some better weather, it was quite rainy and quite windy the whole time, which, had to power through that a little bit mentally. But yeah, so we started at Sauvie Island, 6 a.m. You make your way through Scappoose, and then you make your way through Clatsop State Forest, and head up north to end near Astoria at Fort Stevens State Park. And so it's a bit of a winding route. All in all, it's 105.7 miles officially. And total elevation gain is 5,289 feet, according to this map that I'm looking at that they provide. So I know that sounds like a crazy amount of elevation gain, but truly over 106 miles, it's not too bad.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I think you're convincing, but you're not like 100% convincing me, but
there's like 2 bigger hills, but aside from that, it's a bigger hill towards the beginning, at like mile 25, and then at mile 75, there's another bigger hill. But in between, there's some rollers, otherwise it's pretty flat. the ride itself, there's a little bit as you would expect at the starting point. You do have to bike with a little bit of traffic, starting at Sauvie Island, and then towards the end at Fort Stevens State Park, as you're before you actually enter the park, there's a little bit of traffic there as well. Otherwise, you're on these nice back roads going through the forest. The tree canopy is nice. You're watching the water kind of go by, some tiny little waterfalls in the State Forest as well. And it honestly was super scenic for most of the time once you're out away from the major roads.
And how long did this take? So you said you started at 6 a.m. Around what time do you end up finishing?
So because this was not a race, at every pit stop, my team and I, we would take our time. We got off our bikes, we would stretch our legs. So there are two numbers here. The the time, we got off of our bikes and finished was closer to a little bit before 4:30 p.m. So that's around like 10-ish hours on the bike, a little bit less, but if you cut out all of the time where we were making those pauses and pit stops, it was about 7 hours and 40 minutes of purely biking.
So that's like a couple hours of breaks in there.
Yes. So all of those pit stops, as I mentioned, there's 6 different pit stops along the way, where you can use the bathroom, eat some food, stretch. And just about halfway through the ride, they served you lunch. And this lunch, you can ask my teammates, this is what was powering me through the whole ride, was the first half thinking about getting there, and then the second half feeling refueled. They hired a caterer to make salmon hash at around mile 60. And this is where the morale really went up. It was a stop in the rain. The caterer was like bumping music, just slinging potatoes and salmon and green peppers and onions in there. And so we had that. And then on top of that, Burgerville was there. They had cherry limeade and fresh chocolate chip cookies. And I felt my soul re-enter my body. It was a real turning point in this ride. And everyone was like, yeah, salmon hash. We were like taking pictures with the salmon hash. And then they also had a big aid station there. They had one of those massage gun type things that you could use if you needed to get some lactic acid out of your legs. And just in general, it was a real turning point in this ride, especially after biking in the rain and wind for so many hours on end.
How can I just do that break station without doing the ride? That sounds like a great day.
And okay, so you know what? Some of the route, it felt a little bit familiar to the route doing Hood to Coast, which I ran last year. And so this stopping point was at Jewel School, which is also a stopping point at Hood to Coast that is life-changing because you can sit down in an air-conditioned building and eat hot dogs and whatnot. This was all just outside in the parking lot, but I have great feelings toward Jewel School because I've eaten great meals there.
So Vickie, you obviously have done, a lot of training. You've been on the podcast, obviously, like you said, talked about training for triathlon, doing a lot of biking. Was this ride for you? Did it feel challenging? Was it pretty doable? Would you go so far as to say it was easy?
It was not easy. I will say, will say that. This was pretty challenging because the distance itself was so much longer than any ride that I have done before. It was definitely a change in my mentality going into such a long endurance event. And so it was like, okay, slow your roll, go a little bit slower. You don't want your legs to burn out midway through and not be able to complete this thing. So it was definitely, slow and steady wins the race type of mentality. And, it just felt good to do it with a group that I had trained with the whole time, because that's not something that I've had a lot in prior events that I've participated in, or my half Ironman that I did last year. I had friends who helped me train in 3 different sports, but no one that I had trained consistently with the whole time who also did the race with me. So this was just a really nice bonding event. And what was also really cool about it was that there were people with different levels of experience with biking. Some people who had done a century ride before, people in the middle like me who had done longer events, but nothing quite like this. And then there was also someone who I was just so impressed by, because she really had very, very little cycling experience aside from, getting around Portland. And, she made it a goal to train with us, train on her own a bit more, and completed her first century ride, kind of going from very little to 106 miles.
Wow. Yeah, I can't imagine going from not biking at all to doing that. And having like a group of people obviously is so powerful. I can imagine that really pushes you to be your best. And for all the other people in this race, are they on teams as well, or can people do this on their own?
I believe because of the fundraising aspect, it's all teams that are participating in this.
Okay. So I imagine there's ways to go and find a team, possibly join some local ones.
Yeah. I'm sure there are, and there's ways. If you go to Reach the Beach Oregon, the website there is so helpful with finding that type of stuff. And yeah, my team captain honestly did a lot of the organization of that and getting everything started. So I'm not too familiar with it, but I'm happy to have had someone else take on that role.
It looks like, just looking at their website here, that there's a lot of teams that are like with cycling clubs, Portland Bicycling Club, Sasquatch Athletic Club. I don't know what these are, but like it seems like if you find some local groups of cyclists, of bikers, undoubtedly you'll be able to find someone who can help you find a team for something like this.
For sure.
Well, Vickie, I mean, I know we've talked sort of a lot about this already, but I mean, were there any surprises, any challenges that you didn't see coming? Anything that was maybe surprisingly easy or difficult in this experience?
I think because of the training that my friends and I did, as I mentioned, that the crazy number of feet that you gain is over 5,000 feet of elevation. And so that was something that I was a little bit wary of, a little bit nervous of, to climb some hills. But because of all the training that my friends and I did, it seemed pretty okay. Again, I know how like crazy that sounds, but yeah, all the climbing was not too bad, which I was most nervous about. Aside from that, the logistics of the ride, you have to get into the nitty gritty of fueling your body correctly, making sure you don't cramp up, which was something that I've experienced in my triathlons before. So making sure you get enough electrolytes. One of the pit stops, towards the end of the ride, there was a huge jug of pickle juice and a huge jug of cranberry juice. And I kind of led my team into, I was like, okay, everyone, we're doing cran pickle shots. Come join me. It tasted disgusting, but
Oh no.
But sometimes you just need a little something to like jolt your system awake, like something that tastes really bad,
Those two things, like I like a good, in the right setting, a good pickle juice. I love a good cranberry juice. Together they don't work. Is that what you're saying?
The pickle juice, I'm not regularly drinking just pickle juice, so I think that in itself was not my favorite. Yeah, it was quite sour, even with the cranberry juice to like dial it back a little bit.
Well, I'm sure it's good for you. As most things that taste bad tend to be. And so kind of you go through this entire experience. You did a lot of training, but what did the recovery look like for a race like this? You know, like how long do you have to rest up and take care of yourself?
So one thing I should mention about this race or this event is that it's point to point. So you're ending at Fort Stevens State Park. You can, have some loved ones pick you up and you can go back to Portland, or maybe you're staying at the coast. What was nice is that my team captain, my friend, had gotten a campsite at Fort Stevens State Park, and not only a campsite, but her husband drove over this nice like trailer on the back of their car, so we had a place to sleep. That was, inside living type of thing, and that was really nice because I just couldn't imagine. There's also a shuttle that takes you back. You can get on a bus and go back to Portland that the event provides. And I couldn't imagine just like sitting in the car afterwards after like just spinning for, 7.5 hours straight. So it was nice to be at Fort Stevens State Park, walk along the beach. By this time it had stopped raining, just stretch the legs. At the end, they had a huge taco bar too. We were eating good. We were eating good at this event, and I'm not mad about it. This event was put on in a great way as far as food goes and support. Anyway, to answer your question though, I just tried to walk around a lot, and once we got to the campsite, just stretch my legs, and not just sit down and not move, which is tempting. It's always really tempting, but you gotta stretch. And honestly, my legs were killing me that night, but after a good night's rest, I felt so much better in the morning. I think I went to yoga the next few days and stretched my legs even more, but it wasn't too bad. I think I gave myself at least another week before I wanted to even think about getting on my bike again, which I had to do because I have my next event coming up in July.
I was going to ask, I assumed you had something else coming up. So what are you doing next?
So next, the same distance that I did last year, the half Ironman, I did the Washington one last year, which was in September. And this year I am doing the Oregon one, which is in Salem.
So it's a half Ironman.
A half Ironman.
What does that entail?
So that is, first you swim 1.2 miles, then you bike 56 miles, and then you run a half marathon to end it.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah. So
it's like half.
So, you just biked 106 miles in May. Now I'm like, okay, what's 56? This is easy peasy now.
Plus a swim, plus a run.
Yeah.
You better hope they've got some salmon hash at the half Ironman.
Nothing can live up to that now. I can guarantee you there won't be salmon hash at the half Ironman, and I'm very sad about it. Any long ride, I now need salmon hash.
Mm-hmm. That's what I said. Maybe you'll have to bring your own salmon hash.
Oh yeah, just pack it in your little what do you call it? Saddlebag?
Yeah.
People who do long rides have crazy cool methods of bringing some like good food on the bike, which is amazing. I'm not sure I've seen anyone at these like Ironman events doing it, but maybe they're just missing out.
Man, that's next level. That's next level cycling right there.
Yeah, right.
Well, do you have any? I know you got the half Ironman. Are you like are you building up to something here, or is this just kind of like you're trying to do more of the same kind of rides?
People keep asking me if I'm ever going to do a full Ironman, which I'd really have to lose my mind. I think at the end of this 106 mile ride, because this was kind of like testing the waters, because in a full Ironman you do, over 100 miles on the bike. So after this ride, I was like, I don't know that I could ever even think about running a marathon after biking 100 miles. If I do that, if I sign up for that, You need to check on me, I think.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
I'm going through it if that's the case.
Oh, gosh. Well, we'll keep checking back on you, Vickie. It's so good to have you back on the podcast. I mean, obviously, I'm sure folks have been curious about what you've been up to. So it's really nice to hear what you've been up to.
I've just been biking and eating salmon hash. That's it, really.
Well, thank you so much, Vickie, for coming on and joining us today. I'm sure we're going to have you back to talk about either the half Ironman or whatever else you're getting up to.
Totally. I can't wait to be back and tell you about all of these exercising goals that I'm checking off my bucket list.
All right. Well, folks, that will do it for us for today. Until next time, you can watch our videos on the Oregonian's YouTube channel and view all of our travel and outdoors coverage on OregonLive.com/travel, as well as HereIsOregon.com.
Please leave us a rating or review if you enjoy the show, and if you want to support this podcast as well as our local journalism, please consider a subscription to Oregon Live. You can find the details at OregonLive.com/subscribe. Also, if you're a fan of the show and you're interested in potentially sponsoring it, you can get in touch with our marketing people at advertise@Oregonian.com. This episode of the show is produced by me alongside Jamie Hale and Vickie Connor.
Stay safe and happy travels, everyone. Until next time, we leave you with this 10 seconds of Zen.